Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Week 6 of the High School Football Preview Show here at the L2 Mirror on YouTube TV. We got a slate of games here to look at and talk about. And before we start, obviously got Andy Stein, who's with us. And we have been told that somewhere in the parking lot, and he's on his way here, is Mike Boyd, who's getting back from vacation. But we thought we maybe just invite. Whoa! Whoa! Fresh off the boat.
Does he work here?
Actually, this is our guest this week.
Oh,
Mike Boyd. Everybody we met, we've had Neil Riddell, we had Over to Andre.
Yeah.
So we thought this week, why don't we see if Mike Boyd would like to be our
He's
guest?
back.
Hey, when Johnny Carson went to the David Letterman show,
Yeah.
Carson brought his own fold-out desk. So he sat down next to Letterman and unfolded his desk. We could have had Mike maybe bring his own tablecloth with football stuff. I guess something like that. But anyway,
Wait a second. Is this not the pool deck?
nah. Mike didn't see any lobster tails on here.
I thought he was going to bring us like a Bricks and Ivy.
Or maybe Dan Eisberg, our producer, can put some disco music, like the Mike probably heard, or 80s music, which he probably heard. But anyways, Mike's good to have Mike back, because Mike gives us names. Andy and I can tell you schools and mascots, but Mike gives us names.
Yep.
And the first one we're going to talk about, we haven't gotten any shirts in a while, have we?
Not in a long
Time,
time.
right?
We got the Woodburn.
We got those helmets, Winburn, Southern Huntington.
Yes, Southern,
we are
yeah.
appreciative. But it would be nice if these, I'm reading some schools that we cover to send us.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not going to get on my knees and beg because it'd be too hard for me to get up. And you guys would see my compression socks and make fun of me, so. But if you could send us stuff, we would love it. Dan will put the address there. All you have to do is just drop it in the mail. You don't have to bring it to us. The last year, Central's Hunter Smith's mom brought us Central jersey. Hey, you know what? But it's up to you guys whether you want to bring it or not. Don't worry about it. It's not like we'll feel bad or anything.
Every little bit counts.
That's right.
Yes. But with that said, we're going to jump right into our games. We got 5 games Mike's picked out for us. The first one, and it's the one where I catch flack for whoever I pick. Not whoever I pick. I know I'm going to pick. BG at Tyrone. I only had one guy tell me this at the Y recently. He doesn't think BG's going to lose another regular season game here. But Tyrone coming off that tough loss to Bellwood. I mean, I just think as long as BG takes this game seriously, they're going to win.
Well, that would be a change, though, because Tyrone has not lost to BG since at least for 20, I think it was the 80s, the last time that Tyrone lost to them, because they met for 4 games in the 2000s, and Tyrone won all 4 of those, and then Tyrone won last year. If you remember, that game came down to, I think, a 2-point conversion.
Knocked it down.
Play. Yeah. So, hey, Tyrone, I was ready to say, hey, this team's on the way up. They looked great against Bald Eagle area, come down, tie the game, and then, as easy as it came, it went away when Ashton walked through 4 interceptions last week. They almost came back and tied the game. The clock ran out on them. I don't know.
They got to the 9-yard. We had it on TV here. Yeah.
I was in Mifflinburg that night, but I was told that maybe the clock management, not sure. But I will say this: somebody pointed this out, and I thought it was a good point. Whenever the guys are resetting the sticks, if you're first and goal, you only have 1 stick to reset. So it's a little bit different than
Bring the whole chain
games.
down.
But anyway, BG versus Tyrone. I mean, this is going to be a game that BG has to be ready for, because Tyrone can throw the ball. I think we've proven that. And look out for Trent Adams for Tyrone. He's a transfer from BG, so I'm sure he's going to want to try to have a good game.
And I'm curious, just if you're game playing this, BG has a bigger line, offense and defense, than Tyrone does.
Yep.
If you're Tyrone, how do you game plan? I mean, you just get rid of 1-2 strip, boom, to get rid of it. He can't sit there back there.
He can't
survey
He
the
can't
field.
stay back there.
Because I don't think Tyrone's guys can block BG's front line.
And you definitely have to find a way to become more efficient. I mean, you got to clean up the interceptions, like Mike said, the 4 interceptions last week. But use your speed, but don't stand back there. That's for sure.
Okay, our next game, Philipsburg Osceola at Bellwood-Antis. Bellwood coming off the victory over Tyrone. And Philipsburg, did Philipsburg give Clearfield? We were in it one night. They gave Clearfield like a couple of nice quarters before Clearfield.
And they're 2-3, but they've been in the 3 losses, I think, all of them.
And I think Philipsburg Osceola could catch them, because Bellwood's coming off this emotional high. And I don't think Bellwood looks at PO and goes like, "Oh, there's our rival to beat."
Yeah.
PO could sneak up on them.
This is Philipsburg. This is a competitive game, and I mean, so Bellwood-Antis, it's great. They're 4-1, great start, but they still haven't beaten a team with a winning record. They did knock off Tyrone, and then the other 3 wins are against 3 teams that are 0-5 right now. So Bellwood's still in a little bit of a prove-it mode, even though they're 4-1. And Philipsburg, this game means a lot to them because last year Bellwood beat Philipsburg for their first Laurel Highlands win, and that loss ended up knocking Philipsburg out of the playoffs. If they would have beaten Bellwood in that game, they could have maybe snuck into the playoffs. So Philipsburg's up at 3A this year, and they're right there locked up with Tyrone, as one of the teams towards the bottom there to get into the playoffs between Penn Cambria, Central, Tyrone, and PO, and then Forest Hills is also in that mix. So one of the teams is not going to make it. So this is a game that's important for Philipsburg to try to win.
You're familiar with Jeff Roman, Mill Valley grad, correct? And I know you would have bumped into him in your days covering other. How much is he going to play up the fact that they beat when Mike was talking about? I mean, as far as a coach, or will he be like, no, this is 2024. We're not thinking about 2024.
Well, if you know anything about Mo Valley, Jeff Roman is also a Mo Valley guy, and Mo Valley people, they don't really like losing at Bellwood, even though we did it a lot over the years. So I know Jeff Roman, he's going to want to beat those guys probably just as much as anybody else in the schedule. But yeah, he's going to play it up, and I think they have a better chance than people realize.
Our next game, and this looks like to be a really good one, because it's Mount Union. They have 1 loss.
Yep, both teams are 4-1.
Glendale at Mount Union. Glendale could be 5-0, except for somebody's Mo Valley team decided they were going to
Still kind of feel bad.
upset our feel-good story here at the Mirror. We've kind of adopted Glendale.
I still like Glendale.
Kind of like Mending Hearts in the Central Pennsylvania main side. You can come foster a dog. At least I know I am fostering Glendale as my favorite football team, because I'm not going to root for the Miami Dolphins anymore. I am going to root for the Glendale Vikings. I want Spanky Trexler's Vikings.
Loss.
But anyway,
Glendale probably has a better quarterback.
man, they probably do right now.
Yeah.
But Mount Union, I mean, how tough of a game is this going to be for Glendale?
Well, first of all, I don't want to steal Andy's thunder, but I mean, Glendale and Mount Union are both 4-1 for a reason.
That's right. Mo Valley, which we were making fun of.
Well, you're the regular season.
Aren't they like 3-2 now or something?
Mo Valley's 3-2. Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the top 5 in the district rankings, right?
Yeah.
Tell me over the chef.
But Mount Union, even though they did lose last week to Moshannon Valley, they've been having a better than expected season because their best, they're one of their best players, Bryce Danish, the quarterback from last year, graduated. And they were kind of expected to maybe take a little step back, but they have some nice wins this year. I believe they beat Berlin, which was a really nice win. And they have, been consistent. Josh Ryan is a really good fullback, linebacker player for them. And Glendale's going to have to be ready for that. But we know about Glendale. They have some really good defensive players in Dan Williams and McGarvey. They've also been able to mix in the running game this year with Sutton and, man, I can't pronounce the name.
Tribalbus?
There we go.
Cameron Tribalbus is a big Juniata County name when I was in Lewistown, but Tribalbus.
Yeah, so they've been, he's been the big play guy where Sutton's been kind of the workhorse. And Glendale's been able to do well, and they if they want to keep up the momentum here, this would be a huge step forward because they lost this game 41-0 last year. So we'll see how much ground they can make up.
And I'm going to ask you the question because Glendale hasn't been 4-1 in a while, at least from my memory, everything. How much does that coaching staff have to make sure that they realize, hey, this week 5, you guys are with week 6 is this coming up?
Yep.
Week 6. They haven't been in week 6 games that have really held a lot of.
And I think they realize even with the loss to Mo Valley, I don't mean to bring that up again, but even with that loss, they're 4-1 and they're still having a special season. And I think everybody in Glendale, not just the team, but everybody realizes that it's shaping up to be a special season. I hope it keeps up for them.
And before we get to the next day, here's a tidbit that Mike's going to love. Yeah, I just thought of because Mount Union a couple of weeks ago when Mike was away from us, their 9th grade team came up and played Hollidaysburg's 9th grade team, and people are like, why are you scheduling that game? They played Hollidaysburg tough. Hollidaysburg won the game, But Glendale or Mount Union playing. So Mount Union has a nice little football program. Those kids will be going up 10th, 11th, 12th the next couple of years. But, Mount Union is not going to be a pushover. And I'm sure Glendale knows that. They're Glendale fans should know Mount Union is a really good program.
I'm sorry, Homer's not here to talk ninth grade.
And Homer did he not talk last week
did.
about it? He did. I know because Mike wasn't here. He wasn't.
Homer did a great job last week.
But anyway. Our next game, speaking of Homer, good segue, Andy.
There you go.
Hollidaysburg at Fort Hill, Maryland. Hollidaysburg 5-0. Mike covered that game. Fort Hill, because they're Maryland, they're what, 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1.
So they're 2 weeks behind. They have 2 big wins, and then they lost to a D.C. area team pretty bad. Now, you saw that Hollidaysburg team last week. They did not play well, yet they still won.
Yeah, they have to clean it up a little bit. I mean, in the first quarter alone, they threw 3 interceptions and fumbled twice. But with all that was going on with them, you can expect that maybe their minds weren't exactly on football as much as they wanted it to be. They were trying to FaceTime with
Spencer Davis
before the game, and it didn't work out. And then they go out to the game, and so their minds were elsewhere, which you can understand. But they still came through and won the game. Now that said, they're going to have to be much sharper this week. Fort Hill, they've played 7 of the last 8 years, and Fort Hill's won all the games. The one game was 35-33, so Hollidaysburg's being close. But this team is very good. They've won like 8 of the last 11 state championships in their classification in Maryland. And they have a really good running back this year that Homer said is in the top 25 of all athletes, all football players in Maryland.
I'm curious as far as that psyche there. Was there ever a team that you played where every year you just lost them? There was one game, did you guys play Northern Bedford or was it Bellwood?
We never did. Not when I was in high school, we didn't play Northern Bedford. I know they did in past years, but for Bellwood, I mean, that was kind of our, that was kind of
your kryptonite.
Yeah, that was our kryptonite, honestly. Yeah, Bellwood was that team for us.
Now, how did Howie Camber coach you? Like, did he sit there and say, okay, did he have to, while he was coaching you, constantly remind you, hey, you have last year is different? Because that's what I think Hollidaysburg, I know the 3 years my boys played, every year would be like, well, this is going to be the year, this is going to be the year. It wasn't. The game Mike brought up, 35-33, that was my son's senior year. And we thought that was their best chance to win, and Fort Hill still won.
I'll tell you a story about Howie Camber. It was like the
coach of Mo Valley.
Yeah, my coach of Mo Valley. He had a speech one time that I like to talk about. His speech during Bellwood week, he said, "Oh my God, it's Bellwood," and it was just making fun of the whole thing of they're not some.
It's not like you were playing Penn State.
Yeah, it's not like there's not a chance that we're not going to win. It was kind of that speech. So I think I think that's how you kind of play that right there.
And then our last game we're looking at here before we get to the quick hits. Portage at Cambria Heights. Cambria Heights rolling along 5-0.
Yeah.
Portage is
2-3.
2-3. Now, I guess Lewis's biggest job coaching this week will be, hey, even though they're 2-3, it's still a pretty good team, Portage.
Yeah, Portage did really well a couple weeks ago. I think they had knocked off Penn's Manor.
Penn's Manor was, I don't think anybody picked Portage out
so it was and that last week they had a heartbreaker against Conemaugh Township, and but Portage, they had some turnovers last week. They have some talent. They have we've always known that Portage can run the ball. Bodie Leo is a big target for their quarterback, and Cambria Heights is coming off a huge win. I mean, that game against Northern Cambria was circled. Northern Cambria really had a media day, the Heritage Conference media day. Those kids, they talked about they wanted to win that game.
That was in August.
And they wanted to win that game against Cambria Heights, and Cambria Heights still went in there and won that game. So this is at home for Cambria Heights. And there's just the possibility of a letdown there because, I mean, you've just conquered this foe that you've known was on your schedule. It was the biggest blockade to maybe going undefeated in the Heritage Conference this year. And now you're facing a team that's not a pushover. Portage is looking for that key win. A win over Cambria Heights, a 2A school, would vault Portage right back into the playoff hunt there, right in the middle of it in 1A. So this is a huge game for Portage, and Cambria Heights has to be on the lookout.
We're going to be, again, coaching lots of mind games here where these guys are just sitting there saying, this is what you have to read when you come last scrimmage. they got to sit there and think, hey, they're 5-0, but you can still. You agree with that? That's what
I'm sure Portage is talking
Coach
about
Slam.
that too for
Yep.
sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. There's no question about it. But you gotta remember that they put on their shoes just as they do. So
Now our quick hit section. We got 2 games to look at real quickly. Altoona at Bishop McDevitt. Altoona is still looking for a win. Altoona looking to find some offense. Bishop McDevitt undefeated. Or do
They
have
have a loss, but it's a team that got added to Altoona's schedule when the Mid-Penn expanded its conference slate, and it's certainly made Altoona's schedule even harder, adding them in Cedar Cliff.
Our other game is Juniata Valley at Moshannon Valley, and again, this isn't the Moshannon Valley show.
it's
So we
not-
certainly talked about your
a lot. I
quite a lot.
know.
And they sort of
They're a
0-2.
hot topic.
0-2.
Yeah, they were on
And probably thought that we're not going to be talking about
Yeah.
that much.
Southern Huntington, Glendale, and Mount Union.
Yeah, and now they can, and they're home.
Yeah.
They could be 3-3 at the end of this week, right?
4-2.
4-2.
Yeah,
I still can't believe it. I just
it's hard to believe it.
hammer that up because they were 0-2.
Right, and from what I hear, they had a quarterback change not too long ago. Brady Mahalko. Obviously the offense has done some things there. I hear Rocco Reefer is basically running like a man possessed right now. So he's only a sophomore. He's going to be around a while. So
It
a
could
lot
be
of things to be excited
This could be
about.
a quick game because Andrew Clark ran for 4 touchdowns for Valley last week, so both teams probably keep the ball on the ground a lot.
It'll be like, what was the game yesterday? It was on the Steelers-Chargers game. Steelers-Chargers game was at halftime. Everybody else was like a 7.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
nobody threw the ball.
Run the ball.
But let's talk about running the ball, his favorite thing.
I do like
Andy's line of the week. What do you have for our line of the week?
It's a hat! Short steps. Short steps are better than long steps.
All right, so we were talking about it on Friday night. I said, can I go outside of the area? Can I go outside of our coverage area?
We checked the bylaws. Dan even looked it
Yeah.
up in the.
And I think it was Dan that told me, it's your segment. You can do what you want. And I said,
We
You're
still
right.
checked the
I'm gonna do what
bylaws
I
to make
want.
sure we could do that.
yeah,
Go
that's
ahead.
true. So I went with Clearfield because I was texting with one of my good friends, Rich Moraski, and he's ready for another paper in the area, and he said Clearfield's Brady Collins ran for 360 yards tonight. I thought to myself, that's ridiculous. That is unbelievable. And they ran for 420 as a team. They beat Huntington. Clearfield did 46-7. So a lot of that has to go to their offensive line. Brady Collins can't do that without his line. So those guys are Nick Baylor, Nick Flood, Ty Aviti, Christian Moore, Hunter Restler, Austin Fenton rotated in a lot, from what Miles Carrington tells me. And their tight ends are Ryan Ludwig and John Rolls. And how about Clearfield's schedule the rest of the way? It's gonna get interesting for them. They're at Penns Valley this week, and then after that, it's Bald Eagle, Richland, Central, and the crossover game. That's gonna be.
Who could the crossover game be? Could they play BG?
You play whatever the matchup is. They wouldn't play BG because they're on the same side.
Because somebody asked me if that ever could that happen eventually, just as far as don't they rotate?
Yeah, they rotate. The 2
I think
years,
that would be a great
every
game.
2 years, the teams that they play. Now you'll always play the teams that are in your division,
yeah.
but outside your division it rotates. So.
Yeah, because I think that would be a great game, especially this year.
Yeah.
I'd love to see how they do it. Michael, your stat of the week for us.
All right, well, my stat of the week this week is that Penn Cambria last year had a really nice kicker, Andrew Dillon. He graduated, so Penn Cambria actually has not been kicking extra points. I think they tried like 1 or 2. They've been going for 2, and Brady Jones, the quarterback, already has converted 6 2-point conversions this year, by far the most of anyone in our area. So it's just interesting if Penn Cambria comes down to a big close game this year, the score might be all off because they'll be going for 2. So whether they get it or not, it's not going to be like matching scores. So it'll be interesting to see what happens because Penn Cambria could be going very deep into the playoffs.
And I keep wondering, what if there's like a 4th and goal where they find themselves back at the 15, so they need a field goal, and they can't. I mean, unless you have a play that you think you can score from 4th. But I'm surprised because they have a pretty decent soccer team there. You couldn't find a kid to come from the
That's
soccer
where Dylan came from. He
Yeah.
had been on the soccer team.
But there we go. Now, my favorite part of the show, Mike's least favorite part of the show, and Andy just kind of like tries to stay in the middle there and everything.
That's right.
I wanna know what's the name of the game.
But our week 5 cool names of the week. And this first one is the kid that we've talked about before, and I knew is eventually going to get to him because I have to apologize to Gary Black, Northern Bedford. I sat there and said I'm not used to them having good quarterbacks. I always know how great running backs are. And Homer pointed out that the kid they just had played in, the Big 33.
Ian Snyder.
Ian Snyder. But this year he's a senior quarterback with an awesome name, Vaughn Schleinkoffer.
That is
Gopher, Koffer, Schleinkoffer, and everything. And I said, that just sounds like it would be a World War II movie. He is a German spy who's working for the United States, doubling as a double agent. Or it could be a German dish in a restaurant somewhere in the Center County area.
I mean, his name's Vaughn.
Well, but Vaughn's a cool name.
Vaughn is a cool name.
But Schleinkoffer, I like that name.
Yeah.
And then the other name I was looking at, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go look at Bedford. Bedford has a freshman running back named Tucker Boone. And the first thing I did, Tucker Boone sounds like he's going to grow up and become a running back recruited by Southern Mississippi or your former favorite South Carolina college, Wofford.
You say he's from Bedford?
He's from Bedford. He's a freshman. Tucker
I wonder if he grew up in the Boondocks, though.
No.
Oh, what?
Stop.
I may leave for another couple
Stop.
weeks.
He's out of control.
Are you serious?
He's out of control. Now you're saying Bedford is the Boondock.
Yeah.
You're going to offend all our
just
Bedford
saying.
people down.
I'm just saying.
I wonder what Holly Clay.
I mean, I know it's
Our
from
managing editors from Imler. Do we want to make fun of people from Imler?
Isn't that Claysburg?
Well, it's a Bedford County. It's a Bedford County. But anyways, Tucker, we apologize to you and other little boonies out there.
I still think that was good.
But Tucker, boom. I just like the sound of that. I like the name Tucker. I think Tucker's a great one. But with that said, hopefully Dan will not name this week's episode based on his pun. Okay, but that's going to do it for week 6. We are now, next time we get together, we have 3 games left.
Who knows the next time we'll get together?
We might be taken off the air. Are there pun police on YouTube?
Hey, you can't cancel us. We're on public access.
Yeah, well, that's our other channel. We are. You can't probably. I forgot. We have to go out and wipe that out now. We can't like the people
right there.
We can't let people find out about that. But that's going to do it for Mike Boyden, for Andy Stein, Dan Eisenberg behind the camera. I got to stop hitting the table because I think I just did it a couple times there when I did it. I'm not supposed to hit the table. Technical stuff I know, but I just don't get it. My name is Scott Franco. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.